Most Romans wore clothes made from wool or linen. In the imperial times, cotton was imported from India. Silk, fur, and felt were used as well. Most clothing was one large piece of cloth which was folded and fastened using a fibula or with a belt. It was rare to have clothing that was sewn because a needle was made from bone, giving it a messy look. Clothing most of the time stayed its natural color. However, sometimes clothing was bleached or dyed. Men would wear a loincloth, which was their underwear, made out of linen, and worn to bed as well. Over a loincloth they would wear a tunic. A tunic is made from two rectangular pieces of cloth that are stitched together at the sides and shoulders and tied with a belt. The average man would wear tunics in various colors. However, a senator would have a purple stripe going down the front. Women, like men, would wear a loincloth. However, sometimes they would wear a brassiere or corset, and over that would be a tunic, which was often plain and undyed. And on top of the tunic, women would wear a stola, a long robe that would hang to about their ankles. In early times, women would wear a toga, but that went out of style and they started wearing a garment called a palla, a large rectangular piece of cloth that could be draped over a stola. Richer women had brightly colored stolas made of silk or fine cotton. Mostly every woman would wear a scarf or a veil to cover their hair outside. A young girl or boy would wear a tunic, like the ones their parents would wear. Some young boys would wear a toga praetexta, a garment with a stripe of purple. Boys at the age of 14 would have a ceremony giving them the right to wear adult clothing. Young girls would wear a stola, like the ones of their mother. Only true Romans could wear the toga. A toga is a large woolen blanket around 18 feet long, wrapped around the body. Later in Rome, the toga became more complicated by having more folds and drapes. The majority of people did not like the toga because it was heavy and uncomfortable and a real pain to clean. The only people who liked the toga were the senators, and they tried very hard to keep the toga in fashion. In the early republic, men would grow out long beards. However, in 2nd century BC, it was considered fashionable to have no beard. In the imperial times, men would grow their hair long. Men would go to the barber shop not just to cut their hair, but to gossip. However, it was very painful to get your hair cut because the barber would not use oil or soap, so scars and cuts were frequent from the blade. Women would have their slaves style their hair for them. Sometimes the women would take hair from their slaves and use it as a wig for them. During the Republic, women would wear a simple bun. However, in the imperial times, they would curl their hair. Women would do a lot for beauty. Women would use antimony for eyeshadow. They would use red wine to dye their lips red, and use powdered chalk to make themselves pale, because it was considered beautiful to be as pale as possible. During the early Republic, most Romans would go barefoot, especially when indoors. However, when outside, they would wear shoes made from leather. Later, shoes became more detailed. Men's shoes differed from women's shoes. Men wore heavy boots called calici, whereas women would wear elegant sandals.